Well, good morning. It is Wednesday, and we are looking at Proverbs 18 this morning. We're going to look at verses 1 and 2 as they really connect and go together with one another. It says, "Whoever isolates himself seeks his own desire. He breaks out against all sound judgment. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion." Here we have an example in verse 1 of synthetic parallelism, where he gives an explanation and he kind of completes it or takes it a little step further. He says that one who isolates himself seeks his own desire. The word for isolate here is an interesting word, and it really means to divide. It has the idea of maybe going into, as we would think about it, quarantine. You're dividing and separating yourself from everyone else. But it also has the idea of someone who comes in and creates division, someone who is, by their very nature, always giving their opinion about anything and everything. Have you ever met somebody like that? Have you ever been around people who are like that? When they come into a crowd, that no matter what the topic is, no matter what is going on, they know more, they know better, they have all of the answers. And it creates a divide in the sense that nobody really wants to listen to them, nobody really wants to pay attention to them. And so this is the kind of thing that it says in verse 2 that a fool is. A fool takes no pleasure in understanding. So he's not willing to gain anything from himself because he's always by himself. He either separates himself from other people or he thinks that he knows everything, and so he drives people away. And so a fool doesn't take pleasure in learning, but rather only in expressing what he knows. There are some people who think that they know so much about theology, that everybody is so wrong in everything that they do, that they only will have church in their own home by themselves because everybody else is wrong. Really, this is an expression of what a fool is like in this situation. One of the things that we realize in this is the warning about thinking we know everything and that we don't need anyone else. One of the great things about the church is that we are used to sharpen one another and to help one another, to build one another up. We see this in the New Testament over and over and over with the whole one another sentences in verses that teach us how we need each other, how we need to help one another, encourage one another, bless one another. Let me turn just to one of them because it actually speaks of this issue of wisdom and understanding. In Colossians chapter 3, looking at verse 16, he says, "Let the word of Christ dwell richly in you, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God." The interesting thing there is that we are to teach and instruct one another in wisdom, which means all of us can grow. You know, Jesus did this actually when he was a child. He grew in wisdom and stature. If Jesus grew in wisdom and stature, how much more should we? Now, I understand that Jesus indeed is God, and we're not getting into that whole understanding of his personhood. But nevertheless, we do see that Jesus did grow in wisdom and stature. We also see that we truly do need one another to do this. Not all of us are right in everything, and we need one another to sharpen each other, to encourage one another, to help us to rethink different positions, different things that we have. And of course, it always needs to come through according to the Word of God. May all of us understand that we need one another, that we need that interaction, that we need this, and that by understanding these things, we will grow to be wise and not act as fools. May we be people, instead of dividing, be people who unite around the gospel of Jesus, who truly is the wisdom of God. I hope that this is an encouragement for you, and we will look forward to seeing you on Friday in a couple days for Proverbs 19. We'll see you then.